You are looking at a celebrity, and it is not Don Richardson standing next to me. It is this beautiful car that is very, very famous. How did you come to tell us a little bit about it and the history of it? And this is a significant car worldwide, not just locally.
Well, I actually acquired the car back in 1983. A friend of mine had it in his basement, and it was in pieces, total basket case. I ended up purchasing the car and worked on it for about 2.5 years, finished it. But the actual history of the car is it was built in the early 50s. Started in 1952, finished in 54, timed on the salt flats, drag raced. Just a full custom car that was kind of unusual to be such a race car, and did so well on the salt flats and drag racing.
And it did really well in drag racing for the time.
Yeah, actually in 1954 it went 104 miles an hour and a quarter mile, which was a huge thing back then.
Yeah, back then doing 85 was a big deal.
It was, and it didn't do so well on the salt. It went 126 on 147 record, but he was there, he drove it there and raced it and drove it home.
And magazine coverage, this has, I just recently was reading a copy of Rodder's Journal. This was in it. It's been in, you have a Rod and Custom sticker in the window.
Yes, it was actually on the cover of Rod and Custom in 1953, the first year for the magazine. Featured in Primer and then featured next year in Hot Rod magazine when it was painted. But it's had a lot of coverage over the years just because of the wonderful styling that the owner at the time, Doug Rice, did to it. He was a young kid, but he had a great idea with this car, and it turned out to be people liked it.
What's the running gear on it?
The running gear now is actually a small block Chevy, and it has a turbo 350 Chevy rear end. It's really newer running gear, but at the time I got the car, none of the race gear was actually available. And I got the car in pieces, and I just wanted to drive the car, and I have ever since.
When you have the lineage that something like this has and the history, it creates great value and great interest. Do you think that's going to continue with other cars that are being discovered? Oh,
I think it's going to just keep happening over and over. I've actually owned this car since 1983, almost 30 years. I've driven it quite a bit of the time, but just in the last couple years, the interest in the car, because it's been saved and out there, it's just enormous. It's almost like the car was built again just recently, and so it's been neat that people have seen it, appreciated it, been in lots of magazines, but all these kinds of cars are just really popular right now.
And people watching right now are looking at the number on the door and wondering the number and the letter. What's that about?
Well, that number was the number in 1954 for the Bonneville Salt Flats. It was there for 3 years, and each year it had a different number, but that's the 1954 race number.
Well, Don, it's a beautiful car. Real honor to be able to have it on the Vintage Vehicle Show, so thank you very much for doing such a good job of keeping the history alive.
Thank you very much.